Hello and welcome to another episode of the Personal Transformation Experience podcast. Thank you for joining us. Today we are talking about meeting ourselves where we are right now. I've been reading a very interesting book myself over the last few days called Going to Pieces Without Falling Apart by Mark Epstein. He is a psychiatrist who also follows Buddhism. And we're in this podcast, we don't espouse any particular belief system, but I feel, for me personally, spirituality, beliefs, I feel it's kind of a buffet. I can learn something from a lot of different traditions, cultures, and belief systems. But one thing that really stuck out to me, and I really felt it, was this whole concept of dealing with emptiness. And I know that I have felt empty a lot in my own lives. And we hear a lot from our children that they feel empty. And sometimes that feeling of emptiness drives people to do different things. It may drive somebody to drink excessively, for example, right? Or take drugs. And I've certainly been in that camp, not now.
To fill the void. Yeah.
To fill the void, right? You feel like there's always this void that has to be filled. You can't just live with that void. It could be the feeling that I should be doing something right now. I'm sitting in this chair. I should be out running 3 miles right now, or I should be upstairs lifting weights, or having a dish of ice cream, and I really shouldn't be having that dish of ice cream, and I should be having a bowl of quinoa instead, right? And not just sitting with kind of where you are right now. And one of the things Mark Epstein said in his book is just pay attention to everything as it appears and don't judge it. You know, so when we put ourselves in that situation and say, I'm sitting in this chair right now, but I should be running 3 miles instead, we are judging ourselves, and we're judging the present moment and saying that what we're doing right now isn't the right thing to be doing right now. We should be more, we should be doing more.
Yeah.
And when you think about our culture, it's about fixing, solving, getting to the root of the problem. You know, there must be a reason why we feel this way, and we have to continually work on improving ourselves. Now, I don't want to create conflict. We do call this the Personal Transformation Experience podcast, but we don't call it the Continuous Personal Improvement podcast.
No.
There's a difference there.
Yeah, I mean, but I think a lot of it, like when I think of terms of emptiness, I shouldn't say I never had an issue being alone. When I was alone for many years, when I was single, most of the time I enjoyed my solitude, my being alone, doing what I wanted to do. When I started thinking about having a family, getting married, I was in my mid-30s, and I decided I did want to have kids, because I didn't really want to have kids up until that point, or I wasn't sure about it. When I decided that's what I wanted to do, that's when I started seeking a relationship, not wanting to be alone. But I didn't want to be alone because I didn't like being alone. I didn't want to be alone because I wanted a family. I wanted to find a partner. I wanted to have a child. I wanted to have a home and have that family.
Why did you want to have all those things?
I didn't feel like I had a good career. I was enjoying it, but I just kind of felt like I wanted more. I just wanted more. And I can't say I wasn't happy, but I wasn't fulfilled at that time. And I didn't know I wanted it until my sister had her first baby, my older sister. And I went to the hospital to see the baby, and she put little Vincent in my arms, and I was like, oh, it just hit me like a wave of, maternal instinct came over, and I'm like, I have to have one of these. I want one of these, And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, if I have one of these, that means I have to get married. Can I do it without getting married? Like all these things, like for like a year, I contemplated.
Technically, you don't.
You don't. You don't have to get married. You don't have to do all these things. But I also wanted to be able to be home with my child and raise my child. I decided that I wouldn't feel like I can do both things well, be a good mom and have a full-time career. Some people can do that. That wasn't for me. That's not something I would have chosen, to like drop my kid off at daycare at 6:00 in the morning and leave her all day. Like that wasn't what I wanted personally. Some people like thrive. They want their career. They want, that's not what I wanted personally. I don't think anything's wrong with that. I commend women who do that. I think they're like super women. It's just not something I could do. So that's why I was like, well, I do need a partner if I want to fulfill all those aspects. And I did want to have a relationship. I just couldn't imagine what that relationship was going to look like, because I didn't have a really good model for a healthy relationship with somebody in that way. So I didn't know what I would be looking for. I wrote down what I wanted, and I got it.
Yeah.
And then once I got it, I was like, this is not what I really want, So it's an interesting journey to go through that process and get what you wanted from that process, and then realize, wow, this is not at all what I wanted. Like you learn from that experience. So that's what I ended up doing. And, I was one of those, well, when I am ... I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
When I am married with a child, I'll be happy. When I lose 20 pounds, I'll be happy. When I do this, when I make this money, I'll be happy. So I never allowed myself to be happy in the moment. And I think that's what we're trying to talk about right now. Being happy where you are, or meeting yourself where you are, accepting where you are, finding what you're grateful for in this moment. It's okay to have a goal. It's great to have goals. Goals give you direction, but it's the journey.
The process.
The process getting there. You could say process, journey. Process sounds so industrious to me. Like,
well, we do work with process.
What's the scientific process of that? We do, but it is a process. It's the journey. I like to call it the journey. The process of getting there is where you learn along the way. That's where you become fulfilled. And even once you reach your goal, what do you do then, right? How do you maintain or continue fulfilling yourself? So, I'm reading this book. Believe it or not, I actually never read it. Atomic Habits. So many people have read it. This is such a popular book. People have been telling me for years, decades, I should read this book. Well, since it came out, right?
Yeah.
Which is what, 2015, 2012, I think. 2012, November 2012. So I never picked it up. And now I'm studying to get my personal training certification, which I'm really excited about, on top of what I already do. And he keeps referencing atomic habits. And so I was like, I have to read this book. And I picked it up last night. I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. It wasn't until my eyes started like getting bleary and I couldn't read anymore that I finally put it down. I love it. It's such an amazing book, and it's so relatable. And what I love about it most is that it talks about how you identify with yourself, and that's what creates your habits or your behavior. He says your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity.
Yeah.
What you do is an indication of the type of person that you are. And that's 100% true. It absolutely is. What you do every day is who you really are. And I love his story about the British Olympic bicyclists and how 1% changes, 1%, the tiniest minute changes across a whole bunch of different areas they ended up becoming huge changes in the way that they performed, and they got the gold medals. So that was an incredibly insightful story, and really had me thinking, had the gears going about how you identify with yourself, and you want to think in terms of who you want to be. So, and I bring this back to my work and myself, and the habits of how I think about myself. So instead of thinking, I exercise, I think in terms of I'm fit and strong and healthy.
That's right.
Right? Instead of thinking I'm his wife, we are married.
Well, there's also what I took away from that book is I'm trying to be healthy, versus I live a healthy lifestyle.
I live a healthy lifestyle.
Right?
Yes.
Because if you say, I'm trying to be healthy, and you pass the Krispy Kreme, you may say, today's a bad day, I'm going to have that donut.
Right.
But if you say, I live a healthy lifestyle, and that's your intention,
Right.
you're less likely to go have that donut because it's a conflict with the way you identify.
Yeah, it's a conflict way to identify.
It's not,
yeah.
Because if it's something I'm trying to get there, but
if you don't see yourself as healthy and strong and fit and living that healthy lifestyle, you're more likely to have it. And even if
Right.
you do want something, instead of saying, because he brings this up, instead of saying, I can't eat that right now.
right.
Because
That's like denial at that point.
it's denial. You're not allowing yourself to have something, as opposed to, I'm not eating that right now because I'm just not eating that right now.
Well, it doesn't fit
It doesn't fit.
with your
But if you're just like, I don't eat, I can't eat that, as opposed to, I'm not going to eat that right now.
Right.
But I can't eat that because I'm trying to lose weight, or I'm not eating that.
Yeah, if
right
you're
now.
not identifying with a healthy lifestyle,
Yeah.
then it's easy to have things fit,
Yeah.
right? That shouldn't fit.
But how
right?
many times, like, I know I'm looking at this, I'm terrible with directions. How many times do I say that? But I'm actually not.
Well, you're making a statement.
You're
right?
making a statement about you. I am. Anything that follows I am
Right.
is gonna manifest in your
And
life as
what
to be
are
true.
we too? We are really what we are is our thoughts.
Our thoughts. You're not your behaviors.
Right.
We are not
Our
your
thoughts generate everything. Our
Right.
thoughts generate our behavior.
You're not your behavior.
Our
You're
thoughts
your
become our
thoughts.
destiny.
Yes.
So when you say
How you think about yourself.
I am this, then you're creating thoughts that follow that
Right.
I am statement.
Exactly. That's why I a lot of my meditation, I will begin it with my like affirmations, and I spend the first few minutes of my meditation affirming who I am, who I believe I am, with positive statements like, I am fit, I am healthy, I am in excellent health, I am, abundantly wealthy, I am financially intelligent, I am emotionally intelligent. I mean, I go through all these things confirming that's who I believe I am in this moment right now. This is who I am. I may not be financially abundant, but realistic, but that's subjective, right? I mean, I am financially abundant if I compare myself to somebody who, is on the side of the street, a homeless person. So absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I am not a morning person. I've said that 1,000 times. I have to just believe that I am a morning person. I'm capable of
Or
waking
you
up.
could be like Robin Sharma instructs and join the 5 a.m. club.
Join the
right?
5 a.m. I would love to join the 5 a.m. club, but my brain keeps saying that I'm not a morning person, right? But I that's what I have to turn around.
Right.
So
You say, I can't get up at 5 o'clock.
I
You
can't
won't,
identify.
right?
It's not. I shouldn't say I can't. You don't want to identify with that which you want to do. So it's a conflict. Like, I really would love to get up early, but I keep telling myself I can't. I can.
Right. I'm not good at public speaking. I'm not good with numbers, right? All these things.
I'm not good at math.
Become
Yeah.
defining statements for people.
Yes, absolutely. So it's just very interesting. And that's what I love about when he got to the identity part, speaking about how you identify and the behaviors that you do every day, the small little things you do every day are part of who you become or who you are, is so true.
But
It's
even
so
sitting
true.
with the feelings of emptiness I was talking about before,
Yeah.
saying I am empty versus I feel empty right now, or I feel as if there's a void, an internal void.
Yeah, I
right?
feel like I'm not fulfilled. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel empty. Empty is different than fulfilled. Like, it's not they're not antithesis. They're just, you're feeling empty. The opposite of empty would be full. But, if you feel empty because you're alone, then that's something.
You could feel empty for a variety
Very
of reasons.
Yeah, a lot of different reasons. But the sense of emptiness, I don't know if I've ever felt that. But I absolutely have been in my life where I didn't feel, I wanted things. And my thoughts were, how am I going to get here? What do I need to do? What do I need to change?
Yeah, I think about, I think that ties together. I've felt empty and then, okay, I have to be doing something right now. I can't be idle. I can't be still. I can't be in this empty state. I have to be in this fulfilling state where I'm constantly, going somewhere or moving forward, right? And I remember somebody said when I was in my 20s, a good friend of my mother said that I approached life like a giant to-do list. And I just, every day, every week, every month, for years, my life was about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and just checking it off, checking it off, checking it off. And being busy doing something rather than being busy being, right?
Well, you want to be in the moment. I think when we are always looking out to some future goal, some future self, we're thinking we can't enjoy being right here, right now. You're missing.
Right. You're leaning over, right? If you're leaning over toward grasping or reaching towards something that's just out of your reach and you're leaning too far, you'll fall over eventually.
Yeah. But you keep reaching for that, carrot on the stick.
Yeah.
But you're not looking around to where you are right now, where your feet are, what you can learn, what you can enjoy. How can you
something
appreciate
very precious in that moment.
Yes. Yes. And I remember when my daughter was born, I kept saying, she taught me how to be in the moment more than anybody in my life. When she was born, when you have a child, you learn to be in that moment because there's so much fulfillment just looking at that child and be with that child. And children are very present. They're always very present. That's all they know is right now. There's no later. There's no who I'm going to become. It's right now. That's it. So you learn to be with that child. And as a mother, when I finally had her, I was so thrilled because I wanted her for so long. And I had my daughter, and I wanted to enjoy every single precious moment. I wanted to absorb and get the most of it. So I refused to think about anything else when I was with her. That's why I didn't want to share her with a job. I didn't want to share that time. I didn't want to take that away because you only have, those moments are so fleeting and they go by so quickly. And I know I can look back and know that every single moment I spent with my child, I got the most of it. I was very in the moment with her, very present, and I enjoyed every single bit of it. And I remember being very mindful and deliberate and, with her and spending that time with her. Even now when she comes down, and I'm very mindful and very deliberate about how I am with her and appreciating every moment I spend with her and the things that she says to me and how we interact is just precious to me because those moments are fleeting. So she has taught me that, and that tends to reach out to all aspects of my life. When I'm with you or when I'm with families, I learn to be in the moment. And that's why I really love working with children and moms, families, parents in particular, because they will be in the moment. The dads always are looking in the future, and I have to rein them in a little bit, but that's their job. They're there to take care of their families and make sure they have a good future, but they also are missing the moment. And I find a lot of times that's what they're doing. But
do they let you coach them around that?
Sometimes I will coach the moms more about it. And, when I'll talk to them about, because a lot of times the fathers aren't there unless they're a single father, but I haven't had many of those.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah. But the moms I will coach and tell them, how they can be with they together as I don't single each other out, and I make them a unit. Because it's an inclusive family model. It's not something that's separate. Right.
No, you're looking at the whole family.
Yeah.
I do want to talk a little bit more about this idea of being alone also, too, that I struggled with quite a bit earlier in life. And I will admit, I just could not stand being alone. And if I look back at that time, I say part of it was I beat myself up quite a bit. I was very harsh and very judgmental on myself about what I had done, what I hadn't done, what I should have done, what I should be.
You just shit all over yourself.
There was a long period of time. I mean, when I look back to, I graduated high school 6 weeks before my 17th birthday. And my goal at that time, because I was part of the religious group that my family was in at the time, was to spend all my time proselytizing, right, preaching, and while my peers were going to school. I actually, that summer after I graduated, I spent 2 months as a janitorial aide in the school behind our house while my peers were off to college. And I was in the top 10% of my class, could have gotten scholarships. And that was hard because I look back and I said, well, I should have went to college earlier. I should have done this. And I kind of battled through that. And then I finally went to college when I was 27 and got my master's right before I turned 40. So it kind of came together later. But it was hard. And I found it difficult to sit with that. I didn't want to sit with that because in the moments where I sat with it, all I did was berate myself and beat myself up. And that's not sitting with, that's not what I mean when I talk about sitting with the feeling.
Yeah.
That sitting with the feeling and not judging the feeling is just being with it, not in a non-judgmental way. And I had a very hard time being with myself in a non-judgmental way. And even when I went to therapy, and Western therapy is so famous for this, let's talk through this. Let's analyze what happened to you when you were younger, that you're here today, instead of just accepting and saying, you were abused as a child, verbally and mentally, and even spiritually, and you didn't go to college when you were 18, and you went into store retailing when maybe I could have had a career in finance earlier, right? I don't know. And none of that matters, but I never sat with myself and say, I am here right now. And in this moment, I love myself for where I am and who I am in this moment, because that would have been start here. If you think about the game of life, being where you are in the moment is start, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes in life, we get a little bit ahead in the game and we get sent back to start sometimes too, right? But then that start square is that place where you can say, this is where I am right now. It doesn't mean this place in my life, I am stuck here, but I have to accept here's where I am right now, because if you can't accept where you are right now, you can't
move forward,
go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not to say you shouldn't know where you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. I think that's from Alice in Wonderland. But, so that's important. But you have to be able to sit with the feelings that you have, the thoughts that you have today. And that's what meditation
and
is for.
It takes some work. I mean, you're always seeking. Humans are seekers. We're seeking pleasure. We're seeking adventure. We're always seeking
that's seeking
comfort.
Something outside of ourselves to make us feel whole.
Yes.
So we've got this emptiness or whatever the feeling is, where you feel I'm not enough, I'm not doing enough, I should be more, I should do more, right? We're trying to look for something from the outside to come in. Okay, well, I am intelligent. I should be more educated. So I'm going to get a degree to prove my intelligence. I should be wealthier. So I'm going to work 2 jobs and work 80 hours a week to prove that I'm wealthy.
Well, that's why I got my education. I didn't get my education because I thought I was smart. I got my education because I thought I was stupid. And I had to prove to myself that I wasn't.
And others, not just yourself.
Oh, yeah.
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 You were doing it to prove it to other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and absolutely none of that was true, obviously, but that's how I felt at the time. So when I was younger, I mean, there was a part of me that did do things to fulfill myself. Like there was a strong part of me that when I became a personal trainer in my 20s and 30s, I loved that job. I knew I wanted to do something I loved, so I did that as a part-time job. I didn't do it as a full-time job because I didn't, at the time, for some reason, there wasn't enough money in that industry yet. So I did that, and I worked full time at a job that I didn't love. So, and then I moved on, and I continued to work at jobs I wasn't in love with. I mean, I did find some joy in doing it, but most of the time I was working as a second job in the gyms.
Yeah.
And when I was making enough money, I just got memberships in gyms and continued to exercise. But exercise was always my way of meditating and finding myself and meeting myself where I am and just appreciating things. But I still was hypercritical and not happy ever where I was. I just was never happy where my feet landed. And that's why I started, after I had my daughter, I started training my brain to think about who it was I wanted to become and focus on the person that I wanted to become, because that's the process.
But
Meeting
I think that
yourself
starts
where
by
you-
knowing where
yeah.
you are now. And
knowing where
who
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing where you are now, and then thinking about, because the question is, who do we wish to become? That's in the Atomic Habits. And it's absolutely true. You want to think about, who do you wish to become, knowing where you are now, and how do I get from here to who I wish to become? And when you go through that, you're going to be becoming yourself your whole life. So who you wish to become is going to continue to evolve as you grow and learn and live. So even at the age that I am, I still wish to become more, but I'm enjoying the process of learning about who I am. I love where I am now, and I'm looking forward to learning and becoming more and being my best self tomorrow, being a better self the next day, like just always becoming a best self, like bettering myself, So yeah. I think that's really important, that you always strive. It's okay to strive to be better, but really appreciate where you are now.
Yeah.
So if I didn't change a thing, I would be happy with who I am. Like, God forbid my life ended tomorrow. I'm okay with that. I'm happy where I am.
Well, that's the ability to let go, right, of who we think we need to be or who we should be. And I love what you just said. I think that's super critical, is if my life ended right now, would I be okay with where I am right now?
Yeah.
And because sometimes we may find ourselves at our last day in this form, right? So I don't think I wouldn't wish anyone leave this earth having feelings of regret.
No, yeah, I don't. I mean, the only thing I would regret is leaving my child and you, and, but I mean, she's, yeah, I can't.
Well, that's impermanence, because we're going to say goodbye to each other someday,
eventually, but I'm not,
no matter what.
I'm not ready to say goodbye to her, and
Right.
she's absolutely not ready to say goodbye to me.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
And I get that. But we truly never know. Sometimes things come at us, and I had an interesting conversation with somebody last month about things that are, why do bad things happen? And sometimes our journey intersects with someone else's journey, right? If you're driving down the road and there's a person that's driving drunk because they got fired from their job that day, or their wife left them, or whatever the situation is that precipitated that, and I'm not saying that's okay, but they're now driving drunk, and you're driving down the road, and they run the red light and hit your car and they kill you. That doesn't mean you didn't do it. You didn't do something to deserve that.
Right.
It's just an intersection of two journeys.
Yeah.
That person was on another journey. You were on a journey. And unfortunately, their journey ended your life, right? But it doesn't mean it was meant to be, or somebody's will, or any of those things. I don't believe that. It's
I don't believe that
We're
either.
all on these journeys. And like anything else, things bump into each other. Leaves fall from the tree and hit a blade of grass, right? Does a blade of grass go, why are these leaves falling on me? Right? I mean, sometimes there's an intersection of two journeys. The leaf's on a journey coming off the tree, and the blade of grass is on a journey growing out of the ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes they crash into each other.
And that's the fragility of life.
Right.
I mean, that's why it's so important to be where you are in the moment and look around and appreciate this every moment you have. Every moment. Because you don't know when the next one.
And that, I think, is so critical, to be able to sit with where you are right now. And I think the phrase I read in another book 2 weeks ago, the way out is in, from Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh. I hope I said his name correctly.
Thich Nhat Hanh, yeah.
I always struggle. But this idea of looking for something outside of ourselves, but this feeling of being complete or being whole is an inside job. Mm-hmm. We really have to work on the inside. And so the meditation helps, and just sitting and letting those thoughts come and go. Even if we have what we want to say, see, even saying a negative thought is a judgment. It's a thought. Mm-hmm. If the thought is, you're a horrible person because you yelled at your daughter yesterday, right? Mm-hmm. Is the thought. the second arrow, they would say, is that thought itself is toxic, right, in a way, and can be an arrow, right, that hurts. Another arrow would be, I shouldn't be thinking that, right, and that can make things worse. So if you just say, that's a thought, I don't have to jump in the water and go chase after that thought and go swim after it.
Right.
I can let that thought go and not attach myself to it. That thought doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
It's a thought. It's
unless
not
you allow it to
right.
be.
It's not. It's a thought. It's not a behavior. Right. So your behaviors are a reflection of your identity. So if you act on that thought and you identify with it in a way that you're behaving, your behavior follows it, then that's a reflection of how your identity and how you identify. You don't want to identify with, I'm a horrible person. That's
right.
That's
the second thing. So there is a separation between a thought about something and identifying with the thought and allowing the thought, like you said, to change behavior. So I'm a terrible person. The thought is, I yelled at my daughter yesterday, and I'm not saying I did this, I'm just being hypothetical, but right, and say, well, I'm a horrible person for doing that, and then go have a drink right afterward because
you don't want it, because you're trying to escape it.
Right.
It's all about escape
and then
behavior.
looking for escape, right?
Yeah.
And this is the whole idea of sitting with it, going back to people that feel emptiness, feel aloneness, feel a need to escape it, right? Well, I have to fill that with something, right? So I've got, I'm meditating or just sitting and thinking, I'm all alone, I'm empty, I'm depressed, and I need something to fix that right now, instead of just saying, letting that thought go and just sitting with it and being with it. And I think even when we talk to other people, whether it be our children or at work, right, we can get into solve mode, right? And so even individually with ourselves and say, well, I have this thought, it's a negative thought, and that's a label, that's a judgment, and I have to solve for that, I have to fix that, right? And our kids come to us and say, I feel depressed, I feel empty, I feel broken. Well, let's take you to a therapy session and have them work on that. Let's see if maybe we need to change your medication. And I'm not saying therapy and medication don't have a place, but when that becomes the default mode, instead of saying, tell me more.
Well, that's what I did yesterday
Right.
with my kid. Yeah. So she came to me and she was upset, and she's, she's not happy where she is. And I didn't sit there and lecture her about, well, you shouldn't identify,
Right.
I just told
not our
her,
place.
I just had her tell me more. And I just used a lot of
Let's
open
explore it.
Let's explore it. What do you think will happen if this happens? Or, when you finally get to your goal, or, maybe if you want to, like, talking about, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm going to do with my life, like kind of floundering. And that's typical for a young adult in their early 20 something, not even 21 yet. I didn't know what I was going to do. So we talked about making a plan and thinking about who we want to become and what that looks like and where we are right now and all the things we've done to come to where we are right now, and how those habits can put us on a trajectory in one direction or another. So thinking about how we think about ourselves, and when she would say a statement like I am, I would repeat that statement back and say, your behavior is, you had a thought about.
And that's looking at it without judgment.
Yeah. And so I would repeat her active listening. I would repeat the statement back and pulling the I am or you are out of it and turning it into something more abstract, like your behavior, or you had a thought, or you're feeling a certain kind of way. How do we navigate around that? And what are your thoughts? What do you think you can do, about this? Or, what ideas do you have about getting from here to where you want to be? So that put her in problem solving mode. And then we spoke for a few more minutes. And mind you, this whole conversation lasted maybe 5 minutes.
Right.
It wasn't just like long, because that doesn't work for kids, especially ones who have, ADHD and autism and stuff like that are just not going to focus that long.
No.
So
in a very short time frame.
Yeah, it was a very short time frame, but it went quickly, and I was able to pull her out of that downward spiral, so to speak.
Which is easy for anyone to get into, especially a young adolescent with ADHD and autism.
Yeah. And so she, because she has dreams and aspirations and things that she wants to do. And she feels that if she doesn't do this one thing, and she'll never get there. And she doesn't want to wait till she has the money, to, And so I helped her understand that doing this is not going to change this outcome, right? It's just one thing. I know you want to be happy, but you can be happy before you get there.
Yeah. And this brings to mind something we talked about the other day about focusing on the process of getting somewhere versus the outcome, right? And the end goal, right? Saying, I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30.
Yeah. It's like me saying I can't be happy unless I lose 20 pounds.
Same thing, but saying, putting a statement out there, like I'm going to be this weight by December 31st, right? Puts incredible pressure as opposed to I'm not going to drink alcohol, or I'm not going to have candy. I'm not going to have ice cream, right?
But that's okay to say, I want to be this weight by a certain time, or I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. It's fine. You put that goal out. That's a good goal because it's time bound. It's specific. Is it attainable? I don't know. Let's take a look. Right? So it's like a SMART goal. It's specific. It's measurable. It's time bound. But the realistic part is what you need to look at. That's where the process will take you and help you understand the journey to getting to there is going to determine when you get there. And mind you, when you make these statements, these goals, you pull back and you think about, where am I now? And what do I need to do right now for myself inside? How do I set my mindset, my attitude, my perception about who I am and where I want to be to get to this goal? Because that's what matters most.
Are you willing to do what it takes, right? If I was to make a statement saying, I'm going to be the world's top violinist by the end of next year, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's highly unlikely, right?
Yeah.
Because the top violinist
never picked up a violin.
has been playing the violin since 2 probably, right? And, and they practice 18 hours a day or some ridiculous thing like that. So I think that's where... I think people have to really think about goals too, in a way.
Right.
Because
that's the realistic
Are you
piece.
willing to do what it takes to do that?
Yes,
also is the other part, right?
But
Like if I'm going to say I'm going to run a marathon by the end of next month, that's impossible.
Yeah. But you could lose 10 pounds by December 31st. You know what I mean? Like depending
I probably could.
I mean, if it's December 1st.
That's a more of a small,
but
we're bleeding into goal setting.
Right.
Which,
but my point is, if it's only December 1st and you have 30 days, you're not going to lose. I mean, the chances of you, unless you starve.
Right. Well, it's not
realistic and it's not sustainable, because after you lose that weight and you get to your goal,
denying yourself, right?
And denying yourself, you're only going to gain it right back, because it's not a sustainable process. You're not going to be able to adhere to that life.
But I think this goes back to knowing where you are now, right?
Yes.
If you're living a certain lifestyle, what is the likelihood of you being able to lose 10 pounds in a month without extreme measures? Not likely, right? Like doing something unnatural. We talk about that at work, right? We have these financial goals and we do unnatural things to achieve them, and it creates a destabilized financial institution.
Yes.
But you can do that with yourself too, when you try and set a goal that doesn't make sense, and then you're doing unnatural things. So this is where it's important to know where you are right now.
Mm-hmm. And what needs to be changed. And I love what he says in Atomic Habits, James Clear, about 1% changes. Tiny atomic incremental changes bullet. Over time. There is no, it's not one huge event that's going to change.
People want that one big huge event. That's why people play the lottery, right? Well, I'm gonna be that millionaire, and I'm just gonna keep buying lotto after lotto after lotto until I become a millionaire.
Yeah, now how much money? You could have been a millionaire if you saved that money over time.
I was talking with somebody's parents at Clemson yesterday that they, they're so wealthy, but they get their champagne from Costco and their wine from Costco. And I said, wealthy people in this world generally don't throw their money around, right? Unless you're an oil sheik. Right, maybe you have that money for that $10,000 bottle of wine, but most people don't. And even the reasonably wealthy people in this country are going to be frugal when they can.
Well, it's their habits over time that led them to that financial place.
Right.
It's not, they didn't just suddenly make money. It's like the ice cube, right? It's not going to melt. It's not going to melt at 20 degrees. It's not going to melt at 25 degrees. It's not going to melt at 29 degrees. But as soon as it hits 32 degrees, it's going to start to melt. But it's all those small, you could keep upping the temperature.
I've known very wealthy people that drive 15-year-old Honda Civics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you think, why would they drive a car like that? No, they're wealthy because they drive a car like that.
Yes.
And the person that's got the brand new top of the line Mercedes
is in all kinds of debt.
And then you find out they owe 150% on it or something, and it's maxed out, and their home's maxed out and everything. And we've seen this because I'm a lender at work.
Or they don't even own a home. They just own like a super expensive car.
It's not real. It's fake because they don't accept where they are right now. And this is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Now that's how people get into financial trouble. They get into relationship trouble because they don't accept where they are right now, and then know what it takes to get there, right? If I have zero money in the bank and I owe $100,000 in debt, to say that I'm going to be financially independent in 3 months probably doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So this is because somebody doesn't know where they are.
But if you wanted to be financially independent, you could look across your whole life, everything you do,
make small changes
and make tiny changes, right? So instead of buying lunch 3 times a week, make it at home.
Right.
Small 1% changes.
Absolutely.
Instead of, I don't know, what would be another change you could make?
I don't know.
But there's so many little things that you can do. You'd have to really look and pull apart and make those small changes over time that
maybe we should just,
for
the
goal.
sake of time, do another podcast. We talk about how to make incremental changes to get to your goals. I like it as a whole nother topic.
We've
been talking for a bit today, and I know people have short attention spans, so we don't want to have a very long podcast. So hopefully you like this episode. We appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video with others that you would find it to be beneficial for. We have an Instagram page at Personal Transformation EXP as well. Please feel free to leave comments and chat.
And meet yourself where you are.
Yes, you are enough. Have a great week. Thank you.